The answer is, well, no, of course not. Look, it's the blue line's into the top edge, the black line's into the top edge. You've not got any value to short that black line, right? But that's actually not true, is it? We actually do have some value in this trade, because what happens, of course, is when the blue line, for example here, when the blue line makes a higher high, or it makes an equal to high, and the black line makes a higher high, the same line stays the same, right? It doesn't look like there's any value. Now, in real terms, there isn't a lot of value. I'm not saying there's a lot of value. I'm just saying, is there a value divergence starting to open up? Because obviously when markets are bullish, we don't want to sell it. That's the big advantage of the TradingView narrative. However, if I rescale the blue line to where the highest high printed against the highest high on the black line, just so that I've got the right price, I can bring that scaling down. I can start bringing that blue line to where the black line is right there, right? Now do I have value to start selling that black line? Oh, well, not great value because it is still bullish, but yes, I do have a small but nonetheless definite developing value narrative evolving in the top edge here. There is definitely a separation taking place. And that's something that a lot of you guys will miss when you're using TradingView, because TradingView automatically rescales on the right-hand side, which is, as I said, usually a good thing because it stops you fading into trades that perhaps you're not aware of. But obviously what happened is that we got a very good sell away from that price. I got a buy trade on bonds. I was able to make some nice money because I was very patient on the right trade, waited for the book to start getting absorbed, and then took the trade off the 4s and the 5s up to a high print of 14s, 15s. But there was a tiny bit of value developing in this trade. Now, this is something that you might not see unless you do this type of exercise. When you see a trade, for example, here, and you're looking at that trade there, and you look at it in the blue line and you say, well, the blue line makes an equal to high and it looks as if it's all the same and blah, blah, blah. Well, we can obviously do better than that, can't we? Because I can actually bring the blue line into line with what was happening before. So I can bring the blue line into line with what was happening before by bringing the blue line down into that little bit of chart right there, right? So I can bring the blue line so that the lines line up. So the black line and the blue line lines up at that stage. And if I look across my charts here, you'll see the blue line is right at that point now. We can see that if I just draw that blue line across the highs. Well, that's all premium. It might not look like it when you're in a rescaled right-hand edge of your chart, but that's all premium. And unless you're paying very close attention to your value lines evolving, you might not see that premium slowly developing on your screens. Just be very mindful of it. You can be very mindful if you see that blue line making tested highs and it looks really bullish, but the other price is actually making newer highs, that there is developing in the background a better premium on that trade. And that allows me to sell what looks like a very bullish blue line. That allows, because if that blue line gets retested, if that blue line ends up, if we end up with that blue line getting tested into this, you can obviously look at that and say, there's no value for me to sell this. Well, that would have been a mistaken assessment of that trade, wouldn't there? That would have been a mistake because the blue line was testing the highs, the black line was testing the highs based on a rescaled chart. That's why you've got to zoom in and zoom out when you've got that scaling set. So when you've got the scaling set, obviously you're just going to scale it to no scale. Well, you can see that that's now exactly the same price. But if I rescale it, one of the things you start looking at is you start looking in the background and you can see that that black line is quite clearly higher in relative value than it was before. And that's something you should just be aware of when you're looking at the proper scaling of these charts, guys. Just something you should be very, very aware of when you look at these things, yeah?